Right, so there's the old engine on the engine frame, no longer supported. A quick look round here. Not looking too bad, that is it? And you can see that the frame sits behind those bolts, so it can't slide out, and there's a big taper on the other side, so it can't go any further back. So that's kind of going to stay where it's put. The back sits very nicely. That is actually on there quite a way, on the metal frame. Not quite central, but the engine isn't actually, or that piece of the engine isn't actually central to the bike. The bike whole engine is pretty central to the frame. So there you have it. Excellent job. So tomorrow, excuse my finger being in the way, tomorrow, cylinder head. Going to strip the cylinder head off and get that all ready to be sent off for machining. Stay tuned. Well, good morning, folks. So we're back up to the barn today. Job for today is take the cylinder head off the ZX12 engine. So I'm going to take that off and I'm going to get it machined to remove the broken stud. Now, some of you have come forth with some very good ideas, welding nuts on, you know, this, that and the other. I'm not going to go down that route. And please, it's not because they aren't good ideas. So let me explain. First of all, when it originally sheared, and you'll have to excuse the noise, we've got a pretty bracing breeze out there to say the least, and the doors are rattling their butts off. So I apologise, can't do anything about that. Yeah, so back on with the ZX12. When the bolt first of all sheared, it sheared incredibly easy. And I think it's because probably there could be a fault in the stainless. Stainless is very brittle anyway, but the others came out, this one just sheared straight away. When I got the engine out, there was about 5mm of the stud out. I cleaned it up, put a set of locking vice grip pliers on, and again, I hadn't even moved quarter of a turn and it sheared flat to the block. So two fears: if I weld to the stud, I'm going to transfer a lot of heat and a lot of electricity through into the engine. It's a magnesium alloy head. I've never put that much heat into magnesium alloy, and to be honest, I don't really want to. Also, 5mm brittle stainless steel bolt. I don't know how that will weld up. And again, if it shears, I've just got nowhere. There's very little material around the threaded hole. So any sort of burn back or anything like that could just totally scrap the head. You can't buy them anymore. When you could, there were over 1,000 plus the VAT on top of that. Plus all of the grief of changing everything over. There's bound to be some other hidden costs I haven't taken into consideration. So it's a lot better just to take the thing off, take it into an engineering company, explain the situation. They might decide to spark erode the screw out. They might decide they can drill it out. You know, if you were to bolt that cylinder head down on a mill, which is very, very rigid and accurate, dial in the 4 studs so you can line the whole thing up perfectly, put a 1.5 through first, then bring it up to a 3 or however, you could really accurately remove that stud, and then with a little bit of working you could hopefully get it out. That's the sort of thing. I cannot afford to damage this cylinder head. So first thing, that's why I'm dismantling the bike and doing it that way. But thanks for your comments, I really do appreciate it. Comments I've had in the past have saved me a great deal of time. Please don't stop putting constructive comments. You know, I really appreciate it. To answer a few more constructive comments, a friend of mine said, stop arsing about, making brackets and things, get it on the bench. That's a good point. I've got to admit, sometimes I do spend more time preparing for a job than actually doing it, but I work on my own. This is a 1200cc motorbike engine, and although it's a race engine, or you know, it's race orientated, it's still a really heavy beast. I took it out on trolley jacks so I could drop the whole thing out of the frame because it's a monocoque, it sits into the frame. Realised how heavy it was, also realised how unstable it was, and I needed to get it moved. And there's no way I could pick it up. Now the sump isn't flat. There is a flat section, and then you've got this weird triangular drop, you know, for the oil collection and strainer. So it is a blocking effort to get the thing to sit. And it's also, the sump is quite short from front to back, and the bike leans, you know, the cylinder head leans forward quite a lot. So even at the best, locking under the sump is not stable, okay? So first thing, I had to get it off the trolley jacks. I made the lifting frames. Yes, I know that they're going to be no use when the cylinder head's off, because the front one bolts onto the cylinder head. But what it did mean is, on my own, I could get the engine picked up from where it was, right in the gangway, and get it up to somewhere where it can now sit. It's not in the way of anything, you know, so that's good. Why did I make the base frame? Again, I do realise it was a lot of work. First thing is, that engine's probably going to sit around for about a month until the job's done. I've got whereabouts to get the whole thing reassembled. I could put it on the bench, but you can see the bench, I'm 6'4". Engine head is going to sit about this high by the time it's on blocks, or the frame, either way. That's quite high to be muscling around. I'm not going to stand on the bench to do it. I have a large workshop with a really good concrete floor. It was far better, whether it goes on the bench or not, to make the frame and leave it down there than to bring it and put it on the bench. Plus, although I have a big bench, there's only limited space. I do have a vise at each end, you know, sticking an engine, then I can't do welding, can't do grinding around it because I can't risk any ingress or splatter. You know, I could stick it on this end and cover it over, but why? It's better off where it is. And then I can sit on my little scoot around seat. I can muscle the head off it. Far easier than lifting it onto the bench. Plus, I don't think my engine hoist would lift the engine high enough to get it on the bench. And again, I'm on my own. I am not picking that engine up. So sometimes, guys, you might think I just do stuff for the heck of it and waste time. You know, argue that point particularly. But I do tend to think these things through, and that's the reason I've done it the way I have done it. But again, thanks for your comments. Anytime any of my mates want to come down here and help me with a job like this, I'll let you know in advance. You're more than welcome to help me muscle this stuff about. It will be good company, and you always learn off your mates. But otherwise, it's me on me Todd. Okay, so as you can see, I have a brew here. I'm going to have this, set the camera up over the way where the engine is, and we'll make a start getting that cylinder head off. Once that's done, we can wrap everything up and chuck the head in the car and get that down to the machine shop and see how much they're going to charge me for that little puppy.